It's another one of these things. Where the hell are they coming from? Gotta be somewhere. Let's go find out. So this is the second time I've actually done this. I thought I was recording the first time, and I wasn't. I don't know what I clicked, but I didn't click record. Anyway, so as you've seen in, oh yes, it was a little bit damage there. In the last video on Resupply at sea, we were doing the airdrop, and yep, we were doing it with this puppy. And we'll hop back in here in a moment, if I can actually get through the door. And we'll be doing just a quick couple of bombing runs or something like that with the little creative setup I've got. Oh my god, the lag. Creative setup I've got in here. So yeah, you've got the projector up there and a welding arm that extends down and comes back up and welds everything up. But what I'm more interested in sharing with you is the survival solution. Because this kind of thing here is a semi-automated 3D printer is the kind of thing that you could pump off all sorts of interesting things off, like missiles, and you could have this deep in a base, and then all the way up there somewhere a launch pad that hands it off and grabs it and puts it in the right orientation using merge blocks to pass to merge blocks to pass to anyway, you get the point. So what I've got here is a printer, and it automated to a degree to put things over here. Now I'm gonna have to just quickly clean those up. What I'm gonna do is show you how I've set this up, because it uses all these timer blocks. Now really you don't need to use all these timer blocks, and I want to have a little chat about I don't know, the dauntingness of setting up things like this. So quickly before we go on, and while I clean up a bit, I'll jump to that, and then we'll have a look at using this thing. Okay, so let's go through this little system here. I'm going to start down here. Oh, I changed the settings on my mouse and I'm not happy with it. That's a bit better. Down here at the beginning. So this is just the priming timer for the printer. And that quite simply will trigger these two things here. Now, why am I going into this when I was going to talk about the complexity of building these things? Well, I think this is a great place to start. As you can see, I have printer head reverse, printer reverse. I have the projector for the printer on and off, and the merge block for the printer toggling on. So they're just two parts, or three parts you might say, of this here assemblage of machinery. If we come back here, and if the lag will stop playing silly buggers, I'll restart in 5 minutes, great. Then you can see here that there is a piston connected to a rotor. That is the piston for the printer and the printer rotor. And then you've got your projector and merge block. And simply that is one little machine. Like, just to get that to extend, I've come along and I've played around with the settings so it goes to the right point. So its maximum and minimum distances correspond to where I want it and where the print needs to be. Where I want it when it's folded away, and where the print needs to be. Same deal for this set of of welders down here. It's just 3 welders on a piston right beneath the sensor one, and that is height limited so that it goes boom to boom up to the prerequisite height, which I will show you now. Now if we look at this grabbing arm, now this might seem like one of the more complex arrangements here, but in fact you've got 2 mechanisms here. When you look at the number 5 is alive at the end here, you've got the tilt arm and the merge blocks, and really that's just, oh my god, the lag. That's just one hinge at the front here. This hinge here at the back is set to just always go to 90 and hold it there so it's nice and flat and level with the ground. This one is our active hinge, and I've called that grab a tilt. And you've got an active piston just here, and one that was built in for adjusting when I was building, but turned out not to be needed. Back here, you've got a piston that extends down to a minimum distance of 0.3, just for some fine tuning, and another one that extends to a maximum distance of 2.6. This one down here at the bottom, the vertical one, does nothing. They are all programmed together such that when you hit reverse, when you hit this button here, which extends or triggers the timer to extend or retract the grabber, there's two timers for that, one's short, one's long. The short timer, it just literally reverses the whole thing. So that arm extends and that one drops, and out it goes. And then I have the merge blocks on here and the reverse there for the tilt split mechanism. That is kind of what I'm trying to convey here. Each individual part of this machine is a very simple mechanism. It doesn't require much to set them up. And when you look at it in its entirety, it can be kind of daunting. No, I'm not going to, no doubt there, I have looked at these kind of things and thought, oh, gee, that's a big job. But here, over the course of maybe about, 6-8 hours playing time, over a couple of different sessions, I've put this thing together, maybe a bit less than that, and I just started with making the printer work, and then making the arm work, then linking them together, and that's why you end up with, well, I'll better show you after the restart. But yeah, that's pretty well the principle. Just start with each individual mechanism, build it up until you're at a point where you're happy with how it functions, and then look at automating it, if that's what you want. Yeah, that's all I really have to say on that. Let's get back to the fun. Okay, so now let's use it. Now I've set this up on a 2-button kind of solution. One of them will trigger the entire sequence until it dumps on there, and the other one just sort of turns it on. And I've done that because it's good to avoid loops. And somehow I ended up with a merge block loop. Yeah, I had to just revert to this setup. I think I need a couple more timers to get this fully automated and switching itself off at the end. As you can see, that has rotated one full rotation and stopped. And each time the printer runs, it'll do that again. And now it is handed off onto the grabber. And we've run down that sequence. And in a moment, it will extend the grabber. And that final timer block will reset that merge block on the printer. Now you could set this up here to have a little, bunch of timer blocks that sort of handled the handover by locking that, and then smashing this to unlock those merges, this to raise the tilt arm, and this to retract the grabber. And then that is that. If you've seen the other video, basically, yeah, you know the drill from here. That lifts up and is grabbed, but if you haven't, above that hole there would be a plane. Its arm comes down. I'll put a link in the card so you can check it out. And it grabs it and goes and drops it off. Bring that back down. And there you go, that is that. I will run it once more so you can see it without me talking over it, and I'll speed it up just a little bit. There you go. Cannot wait for the event controllers. That is gonna just make like the full automation so much easier. So I wanted to go through how I've sequenced these for you, but I'm only going to do it in a sort of briefish fashion now, just running through the sequence itself and a little bit on what blocks are where. I think that it might be better to actually sort of take a lot of this kind of information and put it into another video about sequencing timer blocks or advanced use of timer blocks. So sequencing them into this kind of a thing, and also using them in the sub-second area and spamming them, which I've already done. I'll probably just link to in that video. But the other two are quite useful, especially if you want to make some sort of quick release mechanism, so you want to have something happen under a second. You're gonna need a lot of timers for that as it currently stands, unless Keen makes a change. So that video will also maybe call out for everyone to go and get on the Keen Space Engineers Discord and just be like, make a change please, but that's been going on for years, so it's probably not going to happen. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get into this now. So you can see at the top here I've got 1 and 2. Now I haven't done this for my full sequence, but I would recommend that as you do develop your sequence for whatever you're doing, you number them. Probably number them after the timer block. So remove this number and have, and then name them in a very logical fashion. So for example, grabber, merge, arm, tilt, which is the grabber, merge, arm, tilt. This bit. It's the bit that tilts with the merges, and it's on the grabber arm. Right? See where I'm going with that. So, let's start at the beginning of the printer sequence. First here we have the printer primer. Now this, as I showed you just before, primers the printer, turns on, reverses those two pistons, and turns on the projector and that merge block. Then you've got the printer run timer. This turns on the timer and reverses that rotor. After this, we've got a printer stop, which is arbitrarily triggered at the required point to turn off the welders and the projector. Actually, it's just the welders. It's just the welders, this one. Yes. Then here we have the grabber, extend, retract, which is linked to, this button here and in the timer sequence. Primarily, this is just linked to this button here, and it is the 1 second timer for that system. From there is a final timer there that is simply a 20-second wait timer that then triggers this timer here. And that's the grabber, block, merge, tilt arm. So that lowers the arm, turns on the merge blocks, and connects to the container. Then you've got the grabber, printer, separator block. This turns off that, and basically that's all it does. It also triggers the next 2 blocks in sequence, so it triggers the grabber, printer, separator, reset block for a 15-second delay, the grabber, printer, retract and off, which is currently not in the sequence, but yes, and the grabber, extend, delay 10 second, which is the final one used to extend and drop onto the thing in the sequence. So that one so the separator will trigger its reset for 15 seconds, and the extend delay 10 seconds. So you can see how that works there. Insofar as making a loop, something went wrong, and basically I was turning the merge block back on by accident. So I had a command turning it off and I had a command turning it on, and it would jam up. Really, I could go through that and fix that here, but I don't really think it's necessary. I think it illustrates some of the errors that you can sort of accumulate if you do this, and then something goes wrong and you have to go back. So I would highly recommend taking this in a very sort of modular fashion, like I said before. Get this bit figured out, So like your offloading system, and get your printing system figured out, right? And then figure out how to connect them. Now what I've got is the printer connecting to the offloader, to the grabber arm, but I've not got the other end of that loop. So a nice delay, so I need another timer block with a delay so that this thing can go over there and unload. Then I need a timer block to turn on a lock, turn off those merges, lift the arm and bring it back into position. It's really important, especially with a mechanism like this where you're delivering to a platform that's going to grab and then move and get out of the way so it won't be there to grab again, that this has a stop. So you want to have that timer, maybe even turn off the printer, so these two timers here, or turn off the run, so it cannot, turn off the welders, so it cannot re-weld and jam up your system. Is there anything else I can think of? Oh, I didn't mention earlier that if you are building something like this over multiple play sessions, do yourself a favor and make yourself some instructions to come back to. That'll just help with priming the brain. And finally, I would say, yeah, have this set up so that control board down there runs the printer. This control board in front of us runs the elevator and the hatch. This control board runs the arm. This button was to automate the arm, so it'll start the offload process. Again, that could probably be shortened. Same with the wait timer. Now, did you notice how these are flashing out of sequence, or in a sequence, not simultaneously? That's because they are triggered a tick apart. And there are 60 ticks in a second. Wait, is that right? Yeah, something like that. And that's that. That is how it's set up in a nutshell. I should want those on. So, let's go drop some bombs. Yes. Ow. What do you mean? We'll buff right out, mate. No worries. So yes, here I have this little thingamajigger. It's literally just an arm and a welder from the Terran Titans Tactical Warfare Blocks pack. And pretty well operates like so. The arm will extend. I need to put the projector on there. Oh, really? I gotta turn them. I had to move this seat, and so I killed that control bar, but pick it up here. And so I have to open the bay and turn on those merge blocks. And there we go. So if we hop back up there. Turn that on and bring it back. So, let's wrap this up with some blowing some stuff up, or trying to blow some stuff up. Again, not very good at this. Did I mention that? I think I did. Anyway, so while I'm getting this thing up in the air, don't forget that we're going to be doing the resupply at sea, ship to ship, and testing out and designing things for that. So stay tuned for that coming up. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this content. I can't believe how much time I've put into this particular set of videos. This has probably been maybe the most time I've had to, yeah. Anyway, it's been fun. I've been enjoying it. Lots of designing and tweaking and mucking about. I've been pretty short on time recently though, so it's been a little bit time expensive, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Anyway, extend this, get it printed up, and go and plop one of these bad boys on my little targets over there on the other side of the bay. Alrighty, I've lined myself up. And down below me you can see the gunnery targets for manual pot shots with those nice big naval guns and getting your eye in. And over there is the aerial target area. I come in nice and low and hopefully get a hit. I've armed the bomb already. Well, it's not armed, but it arms when it drops on the timer, and no, that was a miss. Pretty low level, but it's kind of helped me get my eye in, if that helps at all. Now I've just got to reload and turn around. Coming up from the second run, a little bit higher, lined up on that top run of targets. I thought I was pretty well lined up here for that first one, but I just overshot it. Almost hit the second one. Kind of like very overshot it then, I guess, really, to be fair. Now, I won't bore you too much, just give you my third attempt here. And you can see I'm drifting off. I'm going to have to do some maneuvering to try to put this on target. If this hits anything, I'll be bloody surprised. And it almost did. But not quite. Oh well, going to have to practice some more. And with that, I think I'll call this a wrap. This has been a lot of fun, and I'm going to keep tweaking these designs. Can't wait for the AI stuff to come out so I can really, start to make some homing stuff, and yes, lots of toys to be made then. But for now, I think, well, you didn't really get much of an explosion there, did you? Oh, I can fix this. I can fix this mighty well for you. Now, start this and get on out. Having problems, having some issues. Use the big hole, mate. Yeah, that's the one. I'm stuck. And boom. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. And I will catch you next time. Like I go and try to catch this plane. Bit of a plane. Most of a plane. Rock on.